Welcome everybody, 2021. We are here. We are almost 2 weeks in. I'm here today to tell you I've finished my first book of the year already. If you're not familiar, my name's Alan. I like to read a lot of books, and I'm going to make an effort this year to share more of those with you because I like talking about books. The first book of the year that I finished, Blinded Descent by James M. Tabor. Now, before I get into telling you about the book, I got to tell you a little bit about how I even came across this book because it's sort of random for me. Okay, so earlier this year I was browsing Reddit and I came across this post with this image. This is a map of what was thought to be the deepest cave in the world at the time. I was just really fascinated by it. I love maps. I'm not particularly interested in caves. They've always kind of freaked me out, but I thought it was a really cool image. I dug through the posts. A little ways down, there was a recommendation about a book. They said this is a fantastic read that basically talks about this kind of stuff. So me, loving to read books, said, great, let me hop on the library, let me put a request for that in. And a few weeks later, the book showed up. Back to the book review. Okay, so caving, diving, underwater diving, none of that was big on my radar or something that I had a particular affinity for. The book itself the subtitle is The Quest to Discover the Deepest Place on Earth, which sounds terrifying. So the book itself is essentially a recounting or following the explorations of two particular explorers and their multiple expeditions, but looking at the efforts, the struggles, everything that these explorers had to go through in order to try and be the first one to the deepest spot on the planet. And he really draws a comparison, which I thought was fascinating, to some of the other great exploration adventures that humans have conquered. So notably the top of Mount Everest, the moon, the Marianas Trench. There's some of these major milestone exploration adventure achievements that were the culmination of decades of dedication prior to the final explorer that got there first or did the thing first. It's really building on the shoulders of giants. These people are pushing the boundaries of what the last person did and continuing to push it further. The author sets it up as this really fascinating, basically, take on one of the last great races, the race to the deepest part of the planet, at least in terms of land, right? Obviously the ocean goes deeper, okay, but going inside of the earth, literally it's people trying to find the deepest hole that humans can get into and get back out of. So it's sort of an odd fascination. When I think of caving, there's a few things that come to mind. I think a lot of people, there's sort of two sides of it. One is sort of the terror side, which in my mind reminds me a lot of the movie The Descent. Yeah, that one stuck in my mind as being particularly horrifying the first time I saw it. Does it represent caving well? I don't think so. Some of the other really cool images of caving, I've seen stuff like this. These really grand entrances, the little bit of waterfall coming down, this really, really nice either natural lighting or in some of these other ones just artificial lighting provided. Some of these just massive underground chambers I think are so fascinating. And if you're plenty of these people featured in the book are in some of these chambers for the first time that a human has ever been there. There's also plenty of time, and the author makes sure to point this out, that it's far less glorious than that. That is a teeny percentage of what they spend a lot of their time doing. Squeezing through tiny little cracks where your body can barely fit, or you have to exhale all the way just to be able to fit through it. In terms of the writing as a whole, I haven't read anything else by James Tabor, but I really like the way that he presented it as a really compelling and engaging story. The chapters were short, which made it easy to digest, but it's also the nature of this industry and this activity. It's got everything that a great story has. There's mystery, romance, drama, tragedy, there's death, injury, peril, betrayal, mutiny, really boring parts like funding and boardrooms. There's scuba diving, rock climbing, the young novice on his first adventure, the grizzled veteran, international cooperation and competition, really crappy living conditions. Some people literally spend weeks underground at a time, which, imagine that for a second, seems bananas. And it's not for everybody. It's definitely not for everybody. The rest of my notes here are about cheese, unrelated. Okay, so to wrap it up, the book was Blinded Descent by James M. Tabor. The quest to discover the deepest place on Earth, the incredible human commitment and endeavors and sheer will, and be the first to find the deepest place on the planet, to get to there, to be there, to record it, and then literally to climb back out. Like, you get to go to the deepest place, and then you have the hardest part of the job, which is climbing miles up out of the Earth to get back to the surface. Fascinating, compelling, incredible tale. Well, it's not a tale, it's a true story. So if you have the slightest interest in caving, cave exploration, cave diving, scuba diving, rock climbing, mountaineering, I think this is a really fascinating book. I'd highly recommend it if you have the slightest interest in any of those activities. And if from the beginning you were like, nope, that is not for me, maybe leave this one aside. I don't, it's maybe not going to be a good thing for you to try to force your brain and your emotions through that experience. That was it. First book of the year, 2021, Blinded Descent, James Tabor. Thank you to my local library, the Garden Home Community Library, as well as the Washington County Cooperative Library Services system as a whole for facilitating and making that so easy for me to explore and go down rabbit holes or cave holes like this one. We'll catch you for the next book review.